The centuries-long search for El Dorado actually leads to a single human being, a leader at the center of an ancient ritual. The reality of this story begins high in the cold, remote peaks of the Andes Mountains, in what is now modern-day Colombia, far from the sprawling lowland jungles of popular myth. Long before European explorers arrived, the Muisca civilization performed a specific initiation ceremony for their new leader, a king known as the Zipa. Attendants covered the incoming king in a thick, sticky resin before blowing fine gold powder over his entire body. He became the Gilded Man, in Spanish, El Dorado. This new king stepped onto a ceremonial raft, gleaming in the sun. Priests flanked him with towering piles of solid gold and raw emeralds as they drifted toward the center of the sacred Lake Guatavita. At the climax of the ritual, the Gilded Man dove into the freezing crater lake to wash the gold from his skin. Simultaneously, his people threw priceless treasures into the water as offerings to their gods. This localized act of devotion provided the authentic seed of truth that triggered a global obsession. The Muisca maintained advanced agriculture and extensive trade networks, flourishing as a complex society long before a single foreign ship reached the continent. Central to their culture was a concept that would confuse outsiders. Gold held zero monetary or transactional value. Golden figures like this tunjo were not minted for trade. The Muisca viewed gold as a spiritual substance, capturing the divine energy of the sun. Casting these fortunes into Lake Guatavita returned that captured solar energy to the earth, representing the highest possible connection to their deities. Power and legitimacy in the Muisca worldview came from maintaining spiritual balance through these massive, deliberate offerings, rather than the hoarding of riches. Whispers of these golden ceremonies eventually leaked out through regional trade networks, passing from merchant to merchant until they reached foreign ears. The arrival of European explorers introduced an entirely alien worldview to the continent. For a Spanish conquistador, gold functioned as the ultimate currency. It was the measure of national strength and the fuel required to expand global empires. The idea of sinking unimaginable fortunes into a mountain lake was incomprehensible to the European mind, causing a violent collision of ideologies. This disconnect transformed the story. The factual Gilded Man was misinterpreted, and the rumor evolved into the myth of a gilded city. Mistranslation weaponized a peaceful spiritual offering, turning a sacred space into a magnet for greed. By the 16th century, the actual Muisca ritual had vanished, replaced by an unstoppable fever dream. The rumor mutated into a place called Manoa, a city where the streets were supposedly paved with gold, and the walls glittered like the sun. El Dorado was no longer tied to Lake Guatavita. As this map shows, it became a moving target, projected onto the unmapped spaces of the New World. These shifting borders drove desperate expeditions further into the interior. Every time a search failed, explorers moved the city's supposed location deeper into the unknown. Armies of men and horses pushed into the impenetrable green labyrinth of the Amazon, facing starvation, disease, and the reality of the jungle. Chasing this phantom destination cost thousands of indigenous and European lives. In the search for a city of gold, the conquerors lost the chance to understand the true El Dorado, a spiritual connection to the earth that was washed away in the clash of civilizations. For centuries, the hunt for El Dorado was measured in blood and broken machetes. Today, the search relies on a precise grid of laser pulses. Looking at this vast, unbroken expanse of dense green canopy, you can see why the Amazon operated as a lethal fortress. It swallowed entire expeditions, completely defeating standard ground exploration. Early Spanish conquistadors like Francisco de Orellana and Gonzalo Pizarro drove massive campaigns into this interior. Their men battled starvation, exotic diseases, and the suffocating humidity of the jungle itself, chasing rumors of a city always supposedly resting just over the next mountain range. The brutal environment broke them. The promise of a golden city remained a lethal mirage, always just out of reach. The obsession eventually crossed borders. By the late 16th century, Sir Walter Raleigh led multiple English voyages to the highlands of Guyana. He lost his life to the pursuit, but his journals locked the legend in the English-speaking world. This massive, water-filled crater is Lake Guatavita. Driven by desperation, colonial explorers launched enormous physical attempts to literally drain the lake basin, hoping to scoop up the fabled offerings of the Muisca people from the mud. Those draining operations required immense labor and capital, yet they yielded only a tiny fraction of the legendary treasures promised by the local rumors. With the lake yielding little and the jungle remaining impenetrable, centuries of historians drew a simple conclusion. They dismissed the Golden City as a fabricated myth. Physical exploration hit a dead end. Without a way to bypass the massive canopy overhead, the deep Amazon remained permanently sealed in the dirt. In the modern era, the strategy has flipped. Instead of trying to hack through the jungle step by step, scientists found a way to see entirely through it. This explains LiDAR technology. An aircraft flies above the target area, firing laser pulses to measure light bouncing back from the treetops and solid ground. By isolating only the ground data points, computers digitally strip away the dense vegetation, deleting the physical barrier. The bare earth reveals massive, deliberate geometric shapes and earthworks hidden under the trees. The lasers confirmed that archaeologists shouldn't be looking for a single, shining settlement. They were looking at an entirely different kind of footprint. This aerial view of a cleared settlement area illustrates the scale of these discoveries. Archaeologists have mapped vast interconnected urban networks, known as the garden cities of the Xingu, complete with extensive raised road systems radiating outward. While satellites map the macroscopic geometry from space, the microscopic evidence requires modern laboratory settings like the Gold Museum in Bogotá. Resting on this dark surface is the Muisca raft. Researchers take tiny samples from elaborate pieces like this and run rigorous chemical analyses to identify the exact elemental signatures within the gold. By matching those specific chemical signatures to distinct regional mines, archaeologists can accurately reconstruct the ancient trade routes and complex religious rituals that originally spawned the rumors of incredible wealth. Satellite mapping proves the immense scale of the cities, and chemical tracing proves the highly organized nature of their trade. Together, they confirm a grand, advanced civilization thrived right in the center of the Amazonian interior. The long-standing image of the ancient Amazon as a pristine, untouched wilderness is false. The LiDAR data reveals a basin that was heavily populated and intensely engineered, larger and more complex than early explorers could comprehend. The literal, gleaming city of Manoa described by the conquistadors never existed. Yet, the persistent rumors of a vast, organized civilization were anchored in absolute reality. Today, the term El Dorado no longer represents a deadly obsession for scattered treasure hunters. It stands as an active, scientific frontier mapping out massive urban networks. The true recovery of these modern expeditions is the history of a civilization that was almost permanently erased.